All right. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the Green Reviews Working Group meeting under CNCF TAG Environmental Sustainability. My name is Kristina Dvochko and I will be a host of this meeting today. I would like to remind everyone that we are operating under the CNCF Code of Conduct, which can be summed up to just being nice to each other. I guess, Nikki, you're okay with doing the notes today?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Then I will share the link to the Google Doc where we have our meeting notes. If you can add yourself as an attendee there, if you are not on the list already, that would be highly appreciated. Then I think we can start. I guess all the names in the attendees list are known from before. So I guess there is no need for introduction for anyone. Doesn't sound like it. Then I think we are good to start. I can maybe start by just doing the expectations round, because me and Nikki have been discussing a little bit this after our first meeting in the Green Reviews Working Group for a few weeks ago, and we kind of created a charter for the working group and have some vision of what we would like to achieve, what kind of project we would like to create, and what our goals are. But we would need to collaborate and have some kind of an ownership that is kind of spread across everyone who is a part of this working group. And we felt that it would be good, hopefully, to get some higher engagement from the group as well. And we want to try it out today by just starting with giving some open room where you can share with us what kind of expectations do you have for this working group, and how would you like to contribute to it, because that would also help us going forward to kind of outline and find owners of the different parts of the project that we will be working on. I don't want to go one by one because I feel it's a lot of pressure. So I would just like to give it a few minutes in this meeting today to let you share what kind of expectations do you have, what do you want this group to achieve, and how would you like to contribute to that. So you can just speak out if you feel comfortable with sharing that with the group.
I can say something just, and then maybe, and please clarify if I'm gone completely off. Maybe that's the purpose of this, is to make sure that we're on the same page. But my understanding was that we were going to pick, and it was it's just escaped me the name of the project that we were going to we're going to work with them, run that. It was a vulnerability scanning tool. I even installed it and worked with it, and I can't believe I've forgotten the name of it. But anyway,
Falco?
we were going Falco, yeah. Sorry, never get a blank. Like we were going to install Falco in an environment and run a test suite of tests on it, so that we could start to assign a number to it of this is its footprint per some unit of whatever measure it's to be decided. My expectation, my hope would be that if that we would end up with a project that I could go back to my company with, to Ericsson, and I could say, start to propose to them can we start to run some of Ericsson's products through this same suite of tooling? I doubt we would be able to do it in an open source because they are commercial products, but that we would use the suite of tooling around it to be able to evaluate Ericsson components to be able to give the same type of number for them. To me, and I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. This is a years long. This is an expectation that's of something that would take years to do. This is not something Ericsson would even. Yeah, we'd have to get to a level of maturity. Then there's be a whole load of convincing to do, and iterations. So it would take a long time. But one thing that I sort of feel is that Falco as a initial project is almost going to be too difficult to start going back to other people to show them what the process is going to be, and that it's to get Falco and get that environment to work means the barrier to entry for other people to start thinking about using it for their own components is actually going to be a little bit too high. And that what I would like to have, that there was some sort of a hello world level, entry level, that just works, that demonstrates what we're aiming to do. Does that, now, maybe I'm after speaking too much there, and I could be very much conflicting with what other people want or think of it. But that the aim would be that I could go, what I would like to have from this project would be that I would have a demonstration project that I could show to people within my company, and I can only speak from Ericsson, that I can go, could we think about doing this for our products to put a footprint on our thing?
Yes, thank you, Andrew.
Yeah.
Sorry, did I break in? Did I interrupt anyone?
No, I'm done.
Oh. So thank you, Andrew. I think you are actually raising very valid concerns, and that's what kind of was the point of this question that we wanted to start this meeting with today. This has been concerns also that me and Nikki have shared, that the choosing the first project is very important, and choosing a product that is quite complicated to begin with will also present its challenges. Therefore, we also need that engagement from the others that could actually question these choices that are being made. The reason for why we have talked about Falco is because they have been so engaged into get this ball rolling. They wanted to kind of jump in and contribute with the knowledge and resources, and doing some effort on their side as well to make this happen and to make this work. Therefore, if we were to go with the CNCF project as a pilot candidate for the framework we're going to build, Falco seems like a very straightforward choice in this case.
And I actually 100% agree with that, and I'm not questioning that we should engage with Falco and run with Falco. But my only thing would be that my suggestion would be that we would create a sub repo of our own that created the Hello World project, and literally it would be a web server that created load artificially based on a get or a put, and that we used that as our demonstration product, and that so it's a tool that we would release ourselves, and then we continue the engagement with Falco, but I think that's going to take months, years to bring to a conclusion.
Yeah, Leo.
Yes, I think like it would be very great after we have like the first project assessed, after we have like the pipeline running and so on, that actually companies can look at our setup that we built for the CNCF for the projects internally, and maybe can just copy some things and so on. So maybe if we write like a maintainer blog or have a session maybe at KubeCon or at some place where we talk about this working group and our collaboration with Falco, for example, I think this can already be like great input for companies like Ericsson or some others who are looking into this field. But the working group, it's out of scope that we build like a new open source tool. So maybe down the road at some point we will end up with something like this. But for now, we should focus on like what are the right metrics? What is the infrastructure that we need in the CNCF to actually have to assess these things with Falco, for example. So I think we should focus on that first, and then eventually we will get there. So I agree that if you look at like the entire like life cycle or whatever, it will take probably a very long time. But I think for if we just look at Falco, for example, I think we can achieve already quite a bit of work in the next months, maybe up to KubeCon EU, have maybe maintain a talk with our collaboration with Falco. I think that's reasonable, but like shaping this into like an open source project which companies can use, this is like an entire different story. And maybe at some point we can funnel our like experience into that. But I think for now, this is definitely out of scope of the working group.
Ross?
Yes, yeah, just wanted to share kind of my expectation and also comments on what we've discussed so far. I think measurement is such an important topic, and being able to give actionable kind of metrics to sincere projects so they can take action and make the projects more sustainable is a really good, was a big step forward. But I think also it's a very new area. Like a lot of the tooling, we're probably going to use Kepler. That's all quite new. SCI score is all quite new as well. So I think from my expectations, I think we'll learn kind of a lot from going through that process. And then if we can share that, via blog posts so other companies, like Ericsson can take it on board as well. I think that, that's really valuable. With Falco being the first project, I think I haven't worked much with Falco, so I'm not fully clear there. I think maybe it does add some complexity there, and because it's using BPF as well, there might be some issues with Kepler. But I think if the Falco team have been really engaged and want to go forward, I think that's really positive. It might just be if there's another project as well, so we have kind of two projects, so we don't build anything that's too Falco specific. That also might be beneficial as well.
Thank you. Those are some great insights, and I also would like to comment what Nikki mentioned, that she also suggested at some point Flux and Argo CD as alternative projects, because there has been some work done on performing some energy benchmarking that Nikki was involved in together with Al Hussein. And I do agree that there are some concerns connected to the complexity of Falco, and which can potentially scare away those who we would need to actually contribute to building something actionable, especially if no one in the group has worked with Falco source code before. But I think their willingness to provide resources and time to help us get there and to help us understand the insides of the project as well is playing a positive role here, gives at least some confidence that we could get the help we need. And then I feel like we need to start somewhere. We need to start and learn by doing this and see and I think it would be pretty clear quite soon if we see that this is not an achievable goal. We don't have enough knowledge yet at this point to kind of go ahead with this project. We need to go with something that is easier. But that's just my reflection on this, at least. I would encourage you, though, yeah, Leo, just before one more thing, I would encourage you, though, to add these concerns. Also, maybe you could share your concern, Andrew, on the GitHub, on our GitHub issue for this regarding Falco being the first CNCF project that we would like to go ahead with. Because that would be appreciated to also gather some reflections from the community on this choice as well. I will add it to the chat. Leo, please.
Yes, I think right, Falco is definitely a little bit more comprehensive and probably complicated than some other CNCF projects, especially because I mean it's very like you need a lot of Linux knowledge about like to understand all the internals and everything. Has different components, eBPF and all this fancy integrations now. So I think right, probably it's not the easiest project objectively, but also as Christina said, just the engagement from the Falco team, and they actually planned also working with us in the next sprint, so they have put aside time. And it's not just like one contributor, but the entire kind of maintainership of Falco is behind this initiative, and I think that's worth a lot working on this project. So I would definitely stick to Falco, and I would also focus just on one project because I don't think it's needed that we focus on a lot of projects. We should keep it at one simple, and then maybe broaden the focus later.
Nikki?
I would like to add an action point to ask the Falco maintainers who are eager to work on this project to invite them to our meetings going forward, because to be honest, we have an absence, and that would be really helpful. So I'll add that to the action item so that we don't forget.
Yeah, that would be great. We have all the participants tagged from the from Falco in the comment that was added last week, quite extensive one. So we could address them directly there as well,
Yeah.
to encourage them to join.
Definitely.
That's a great point. Thank you.
And the other point that I wanted to make was that Falco was the first project that approached us, but I think we should open up to the possibility of other projects potentially approaching us and already maybe prepare for the second project. I know it's too soon, but if anyone here is a maintainer of another project that they would like to pitch as another one that we can work with, you know, I think we should encourage that, because we did go with we didn't share this with projects. We kind of went with the first one that we were approached by. I think it's worth inviting maintainers from other projects to also participate, even if it's just preliminary work, like figuring out, you know, really basic things.
A suggestion here, maybe what the others think about it. Would it make sense to have an open issue where CNCF projects could add their interest, where we don't promise anything that we start with your project straight away, but if you kind of would like to follow along with the progress we make, or would like to collaborate either by joining these meetings to kind of collaborate into what we are building and kind of be the project to test it out long term, that they could add their interest in that issue so that we could get that overview.
That's a great
Does
idea.
anyone
to
have
track
any
it.
objections to that? Yeah. If no objections, then we could have an action item on that as well. Okay. Thank you, Nikki. Are there any other reflections anyone in this group would like to share regarding the expectations for the work we do and the projects we will be working with before we move on?
Yes, I have some expectations. So I'm still a bit of a observer in this working group. So I was looking for something practical to do. So a way to either get better technically or like, you know, to get a chance of get something moving. And I was observing the tag for a while, and I thought like this could be a good way. So I'm willing to get my hands dirty as soon as possible. And yeah, to start developing something, but I'm waiting for some directions here.
This is awesome. This is exactly what we're looking for, Antonio. We need actually engaged people who would like to just start building that. So hopefully we will get the infrastructure we need soon so that we could actually get started with this. But this is great that you would like to contribute. So it's highly appreciated.
Yeah, I've taken, I don't know if it is the right time now to talk about it, but I've taken a look into the architecture that Max wrote, and I started to, documenting, like, for example, I was curious on how it was possible to trigger a GitHub action from a repo to another. And I done some research there. I don't know if we can already start to draft the document. We could do this way or that way, or to start something in that direction. But yeah, I was just curious to see what were your thoughts and like what were your steps forward and align possibly. But yeah, given that there was no other things open, I thought I would start taking a look.
This is actually awesome that you started looking into that, Antonio. I think we have like a separate item. I'm not sure if we will get that, we will get enough time to kind of go into more details here on the design doc proposal. But if you have something that you feel comfortable with sharing already, we also mentioned it last time that we would really like to get some feedback on this GitHub issue as well, because this is the issue where we try to gather the design doc proposal for this kind of implementation that we will be building. I think Max has an action item on him to create a dedicated Google Doc for the same, to kind of document it as well. But I'm not sure if I haven't seen the doc yet, and so I don't think he created it yet. So please correct me if I'm wrong, Nikki or Leo, but at least if you feel comfortable with something that you have already gathered some information about that you would like to share, or maybe questions that you need to follow up on some of this implementation, we would really like to encourage you to add that to the issue as well, so that we can get that discussion going, so that others could also contribute to it and build upon it. That would be really great.
Then I will comment at the end of the meeting on the issue itself.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I think me and Nikki tried to kind of split it up a bit to try to start outlining it a bit on different items of this sections of this implementation, but then we would need to get more clarifications on it as well. So don't be shy in adding that. Leo?
I just was not sure it was the right place. I don't know.
Oh no.
I think we can just create the doc and then ping Max if he would like to add something, because not sure if he forgot about it.
Yeah, then we can have an action item on that. Just create a doc, and then Max can paste in content if he had it somewhere from before.
And anybody else too. Yeah. Sounds good.
Created it.
Awesome. Thank you.
It's an empty doc, so we'll build on it.
Need to start somewhere, so cool. Thank you. Anyone else that has some unsaid reflections that you would like to bring up? All right, going once, going twice. Oh, well, thank you so much. This is great. It's great to get some reflections from the others as well, and this is good to see that there is engagement in this group as well. Next on the agenda, I moved your items up a bit, Leo, because I think it makes a lot of sense to kind of move from the expectations to more short-term and long-term goals of the working group before we look into any latest updates on the items we have on the project board.
Yeah, sounds good.
Would you like to take it up?
Right. I mean, these are just like a couple of questions just to kick off the discussion like here in this meeting, what your thoughts are on some of the topics. Like the first one is short-term and long-term goals. I think it makes a lot of sense to define a couple of goals for these deadlines. I wrote 3 down. So we have November KubeCon NA. We have a maintainer talk. We also have a meetup, in-person meetup. So I think there's a great opportunity to discuss this too. So maybe we want to prepare something beforehand, or we want to share something in the maintainer talk. I think we definitely want to do that. Maybe there are some other things we can already do. I think also setting like smaller goals maybe every couple of months or so, I think is also a good practice just to not lose out of touch. And also maybe end of the year, because end of the year we also have a report to the TUC. Maybe we want to add something from the working group. And there's also KubeCon EU. So in kind of half a year, I think that's kind of a big time frame. Probably we can achieve something until then.
Mm. Are you thinking, like, I'm thinking about KubeCon NA, it's in November. Then you said we had a maintainer talk for the tag as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we can just assign, for example, we need to, I think the repro is still not up. So I think this is something we definitely want to create in the next, like this week, hopefully. Maybe we can already do some research on GitHub Actions, what Antonio was talking about. Maybe we can have, I don't know, maybe already like a POC running. I'm not sure if this is, if that's enough time, but yeah.
Yeah, then I guess if we don't get any further progress on the infrastructure, we would need to improvise, I think, with doing it some other place. I'm not sure if there are any other ways we could pressure or escalate the infrastructure going, or if we should focus on trying to share some overall goals without anything concrete. But yeah, Nikki, maybe.
Yeah, so thank you. I wanted to mention that this is one of the biggest blockers that we have at the moment, and I've followed up a couple of times in the issue for the cluster access, but I think we need to reach out to our TOC liaison or someone. Maybe Leo, you have someone in mind?
Can you link me the issue, and then I can see to follow up. Awesome, thanks. Yeah, I can follow up.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I will sync with the CNCF about this and see. Hopefully, we can get it this week.
Thank you. That would be great. It's been some time. And do you know about the repo? How it's going? I see it's been approved, but like how long until we have something?
Yeah, I think this is just a matter of pinging Nikita. So I can also do that. It's approved, so should be all right.
Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome, because that there was kind of it was difficult to do much actionable work on this without actually having a place to add it to. So that would be great if we can get it up. Then we can start straight away. We don't need to wait for any future working group meeting. We can just start, I think. And as also Nikki mentioned, if you have started looking into it and you need any help, just ping us on Slack or anywhere. Like both me and Nikki actually have experience with triggering actions from a different repo, so have done this multiple times before. So if you need help, Antonio, also on this, there are more of us who would like to collaborate and help out, so can get that going. I'm thinking like if we were, I think it's a good idea. It's a good suggestion from you, Leo, in terms of getting some goals in place for the group, because then we would have some concrete goals to work towards. Maybe we can create a doc as well here.
Yeah. So for example, maybe one goal which we can also have until KubeCon NA would be, so we mentioned in this meeting, we have quite a few like questions about Falco internals. So I think this can also be something we want to clarify until KubeCon NA, that everybody is kind of just thinking about, like, or maybe we can just have one assigned to this or so. I don't know how you want to do it, but that we clarify everything that we need to do, or like all the gaps, knowledge gaps that we have about Falco, because they are happy to help and answer all of that.
One of the things, and I'm happy to own the KubeCon NA part, since I'll be going to speak about this, and I think I will focus on this working group. But it would be great to have something already going for them. And I think what we need to establish with Falco is the rate, like the unit of work of Falco, and according to the SCI. So I don't know if anyone would like to give this a go. So if you look at
just based from their adding up on that, Nikki, based on their response on the different like concerns and thoughts that we shared in the issue, when it comes to the functional unit specifically, they need to understand the SCI metrics and its components. So we would need to have some kind of dialogue with them on this, either that we get them in this meeting and have it as an agenda item where we discuss directly with technical maintainers behind this project, go into more details on that straight in the meeting, or if we should do some preparations beforehand as well, before the meeting, try to sum it up somehow in a written form first and get their response if they understand what it is or not.
It can be also what we try to tackle at the next meeting, if they can join. Then we can all try to figure this out during the meeting, what the SCI is, because we can work with them. If we have SCI knowledge and they have the technical knowledge of Falco, together we can discuss it.
Yeah.
Leo?
Yeah, sounds like a very good idea. So probably until next week, I'm sure one of the maintainers has time. So until next, in 2 weeks, we should have like a list of questions and prepare this, so it's kind of like a interactive, so we make a lot of use out of this time too. It's just my point.
Yeah. That makes sense. Then we should we use this doc that we now create that is empty, Nikki, where we will also add the goals as well, and under the goals we could have like questions that we need to clarify to get that goal completed. I think if we have a lot of different documents, that would be a little bit difficult, but if we try to aggregate information in a few ones, that would help make it easier for others to contribute as well.
Yes. I can we can try to create some of the headers of like all the sections and add to it until the next meeting to have something more concrete.
Yeah, I see also that in the chat, Jacob or Jakob, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I pronounce it wrong, but he mentions also a issue that is related to a CI metric that was raised in the Green Software Foundation. Then we could probably link it in that document and take a closer look into it. But I can at least after the meeting just tag the Falco maintainers and also link link to that document and figure out if they could also join us for the next meeting, and then we could add some questions into the document. Do you feel like we should look like we should get some concrete goals right now, or
No, we don't need to define this right now, but I think we should think about this soon. So maybe we can track this somehow and just agree maybe on next meeting. Maybe next meeting we can have just a list of goals or whatever, and then we can just have like a plan which we briefly discuss.
Nikki?
Sorry to put you on the spot, Jacob. Would you like to present what you've posted in the Green Software Foundation about the what you just shared in the chat? Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. I cannot share my video today, but I hope that is okay. So basically, as I said in the last meeting we held, I'm doing a master's thesis, and that means I'm reading a lot of research articles currently. And one of the articles I stumbled upon specifically mentioned the SCI as an example of a metric that it falls into. It says it's a pitfall of combining the metrics. So that is this research article says that operational and embodied carbon cannot be combined into one single metric. Because they are measured in two different scales. So the argument basically is that embodied carbon is accumulated in the supply chain. So when you, for example, if you buy a server from a cloud provider, the embodied carbon will include all the carbon in the whole supply chain from that server. So the embodied carbon will be much, much larger in almost all cases than the operational carbon you yourself can produce. And that will, says the article, says that it will mean that the embodied carbon or the SCI metric or any metric using both embodied and an operational carbon emissions will be biased towards embodied carbon. I hope that makes sense, but I don't know if my issue is it might be that I misunderstood it, but I just I raised this issue with the Green Software Foundation yesterday, and waiting to hear what they think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sorry, Christina.
No worries. Just wanted to say thanks for briefly summing it up. That sounds like an interesting reflection for me at least. So that would be interesting to look into more details into it. Would you like to contribute more onto the metrics we would like to be basing the sustainability footprint measurement going forward, Jacob? Sorry again if we double put you onto the spot here, but since you are doing a lot of research in that area, that sounds like you have quite a lot of valuable insight here that we could benefit from.
I don't think I can promise any contributions at the moment. I actually just joined this meeting to try to observe what you are doing and what this screen review is about. But yeah. So I can't promise that I will notice and read all the issues about this. But yeah.
Yeah. That's totally understandable. That's just more of an opportunity if you also feel like this is something that you can contribute to, that we could benefit from it. I guess the reason behind going with the SCI metric is because it is one of the most known metrics that we have also been tightly talking with Green Software Foundation about as well. And they have been involved into multiple meetings in the environmental sustainability tag, and we're willing to contribute here as well. But of course, we are open to more suggestions here. Antonio, you had your hand raised up. I'm sorry if I.
Yeah, no worries. Was just I would be happy to follow up on this one because I think this was a problem that we highlighted also while we were writing the document for understanding what were the goals or non-goals of the working group, and we said that we didn't want to bind ourselves to a single metrics. That CSI was an example. But I was actually getting more deeper into what the SCI does, and as a also operational perspective, I think it would be interesting to see if with the given repo and it would be even possible for us to measure emission factors or embodied carbon. So yeah, I think it's still a fresh discussion ongoing, and I remember someone mentioned that maybe it was going to be accepted as a standard, but it's not yet, right? So I don't know if we could track this somewhere, but also what are we expecting? So we are saying, okay, we will deliver some kind of green metrics, and CSI could be one of those, but would it be easy to calculate it practically? Would we be even able to calculate it? That is a question that I have in mind.
Ross?
During the test.
Yes, yeah, I think this is really good feedback, and I think a session on how we calculate the SCI score, maybe with Falco or maybe even someone from GCF will be useful, because I think also we need to see how we can apply SCI in this context. Because I think in our case, the embodied carbon will be coming from the Equinix mental machine we're using, but the projects that are kind of using our infrastructure, they won't be kind of optimizing that, they'll be optimizing their own code. So I think we need to see how we apply SCI in this context. And I think, yeah, like Antonio, that it's being submitted to becoming an ISO standard, but I think it's in the kind of final stages of the approval process. But yeah, I think that's, a session on that, maybe we can prepare for it in advance. That might be useful, just how we can apply SCI in this context.
Yeah. And as Leo also mentioned in the chat, we do not. It's not like we have committed that it must be SCI and that's only SCI from now on that we will go with. We are doing something relatively new in this field. We need to understand ourselves how we're gonna do it, and what tools are we gonna use. Therefore, that was kind of the first metric we decided to mention. But everything is open to change. And I think we had, if I remember correctly, I think we had a session from GSF on SCI metrics specifically. I think we had it, but earlier. But we may look into if there is a need to have an additional session with GSF as well in the future.
Time check.
Yes, time check with 12 minutes. I think we have an action point here, which is basically to start just outlining those goals, to start outlining those questions. And now that Nikki created a document, I suggest that those of you who have input, please do contribute to that one as well. We will also, until next meeting, try to get some suggestions for the goals and some questions in place that we would need to clarify with Falco and even with GSF if that will be needed. Is there anything else that we missed on this item from you, Leo, that you would like to bring up?
No, that's pretty much it.
Thanks. Then we have 11 minutes approximately. What is left here? I think we can just quickly sum up the items we have on the board. So if you haven't seen this board since last working group, I then check it out. We will be linking all the items into this board to kind of have a place to gather it. So as we mentioned earlier, currently we have a blocker, which is infrastructure. So hopefully we will get that sorted out until next meeting. And I think the two other items we kind of already touched upon today. So one item is all basically on the design doc, where we also once again need input from the others as well to start making something concrete, concrete implementation draft out of it. And the second item is for Falco being the first CNCF project that we would like to collaborate with. So I feel like we touched upon it already. So if you would like to learn more details about it, just check out those items on the board. Let's see. I think, yeah. I think that was the updates regarding the tasks. Are there any topics or questions that anyone in the group has that you would like to bring them up while we have this 10 minutes? Yeah, Leo.
So what you kind of started with this meeting, like distributing ownership across everybody here who is interested working on this project. I think that's another one next to the goals, which we also may want to focus on in the next weeks. Just that everybody is also has the opportunity to collaborate and to contribute to this project. So I think that's something we probably want to also sync on, maybe async after this meeting, so everybody can just think about what their plans are. I think that was a very great introduction.
Do you have any thoughts, Leo, on how maybe with experience from the other projects, how you handle distributing ownership like, do you leave it up? Do you leave it up for the group to do, or do you address specific people concretely? And I'm just asking because I would like to learn more as well from other experiences on how to do it.
So I think this is a little bit different than some other open source initiatives, because this is kind of more or less like a regular project. So we can also run this more like a regular project, I think, that we kind of capsule, just like we do in software projects, sub-projects, tickets, and so on. And then we can assign ownership by experience and interest. So for example, if Antonio has interest in the workflow, CI and CD, that's obviously like a big part of the overall infrastructure that we need to work on. Maybe that makes sense to split this off. So I think there's, I would run this like a more like a regular project.
Yeah, I was thinking more in terms of not pushing anyone, since it's different from the kind of enterprise project from my perspective, where it's clear who has time and commitment to do that. I was more interested like in how, is it enough? Should we just create issues and let people say that they want to be assigned to this item, or should we kind of address anyone specifically without waiting?
So I think as working group chairs, you need to kind of bootstrap the structure that everybody is able to contribute to this project, and then it's up to everybody who how much work they would like to put in. So at the end, you're kind of in like have the ownership of the entire working group and all the tickets and so on, but you can obviously distribute, or this is the goal, that you want to distribute the workload. And you kind of will see over time who has experience or who has engagement and time to work on these tickets. So it's definitely not pushy, because pushy does not work in open source anyways. I mean, it's a different philosophy. It doesn't work. And I think everybody also should think about like what they can get out of contributing to this project, because there's a lot usually in open source where you can learn. So if you don't have experience in, again, GitHub pipelines, whatever, or maybe we have some scripting to do, or maybe it's just outreach, talking to Falco people and so on. This can also be something people do not have a lot of experience with, but it takes some experience just to get all the requirements right and everything. So I think this is a great opportunity for everybody just to grow in a field who they have like a lot of interest in, but maybe not the possibility at work or some other place to to learn.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think we have a good start by creating a separate project board and starting to link in those issues to that. Me and myself and Nikki have started on creating some items, and I guess once we get the infrastructure up and running and we'll get some more feedback on the implementation doc, it will be much easier to get that into smaller items. And yeah, then hopefully we can get more people to contribute to that.
We'll do our best to unblock all of those bootstrapping pieces until the next meeting, which is in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So that we can all come back and hopefully have the Falco folks here in 2 weeks and discuss the measurement part. What are we measuring around Falco? What's the functional unit of Falco? How does it scale, etc.? So I think we're in a good place. Yeah, I think we're in a good place. It's just coming together slowly.
Yeah. We need to start somewhere, and I guess maybe not that many have experience with doing this before. I don't, so I'm just I think we will just need to start doing that and learn and from there and develop from there. Yes. Then I think we have 3 minutes left. If there are no burning questions, I would like to thank you for the engagement and discussions today. And I hope you have enough resources also to start sharing some initial feedback on the GitHub issues and in the doc that we have created. So I hope we will. Yeah, we are off to a great start, like Leo said in the chat. So if you have any questions in the meantime, we can take it on Slack or on the GitHub issues. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Excellent.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Thank you. Great session.
Bye bye.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.